Hollywood legends are often wrapped in mystery, but few rivalries have simmered as bitterly and as quietly as the one between Robert Duvall and his former co-star. Duvall, revered for his roles in The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, was never one to fake affection, and when it came to this man, he didn't even try. Their feud wasn't just personal, it was volcanic. On set, tension crackled like exposed wires. Off set, Duvall reportedly refused to speak his name. The clash wasn't about politics or fame, it was about respect, or the lack of it. Duvall once said he couldn't stand actors who pretend to be artists but don't do the work, and insiders believe this was a direct jab. The man in question? A fellow Oscar winner, adored by fans, but in Duvall's eyes, a fraud. Their fallout shaped the tone of an entire film, with scenes so icy you could feel the chill through the screen. Today, the feud remains one of Hollywood's most unspoken truths, a reminder that behind the glamour, grudges run deep. Tom Hardy couldn't stand Shia LaBeouf on set. Tom Hardy and Shia LaBeouf were cast in Lawless in 2012, a crime drama directed by John Hillcoat. Both actors were known for intense, immersive approaches to their roles. Their preparation involved fully committing to character, which set the stage for strong on-set energy. According to the director, John Hillcoat, there was noticeable tension between Hardy and LaBeouf early in filming. The tension was attributed to their acting styles rather than personal animosity. Hillcoat described it as a bit of tension, emphasizing it was professional, not hostile. Rumors spread that LaBeouf and Hardy got into a physical fight on set, including claims that LaBeouf knocked out Hardy. Shia LaBeouf later clarified that these stories were false, explaining the incident was playful wrestling or roughhousing, not a real fight. LaBeouf commented that Hardy was like a gorilla on set, suggesting that Hardy's dominant presence could make the environment feel intense. This observation may have contributed to rumors that Hardy couldn't stand LaBeouf, but it reflects the actor's professional dynamic, not personal hatred. Despite any tension, both actors completed filming successfully, delivering strong performances. The story of animosity appears to be exaggerated by the media and rumors, rather than based on actual conflict. Dwayne Johnson and Vin Diesel's feud nearly ended Fast and Furious. Dwayne Johnson joined the franchise in Fast 5 in 2011 as Luke Hobbs and went on to appear in Fast and Furious 6 in 2013 and Furious 7 in 2015. Vin Diesel, as the franchise lead, Dominic Toretto, was already deeply embedded in the series. Johnson's arrival introduced another major alpha personality. This set the stage for potential friction given strong individual stars. During the production of The Fate of the Furious in August 2016, Johnson made a now-deleted Instagram post calling out male co-stars who do not conduct themselves as stand-up men and true professionals. Many interpreted this as directed at Diesel. Reports emerged that Johnson and Diesel did not share scenes together in the film, indicative of behind-the-scenes separation. In a 2018 interview with Rolling Stone, Johnson said that he and Diesel had a few discussions, including an important face-to-face in my trailer, and concluded they have a fundamental difference in philosophies on how we approach movie making and collaborating. Diesel responded in April 2017 by saying the feud was blown out of proportion and that he and Johnson were close, though he acknowledged the tension existed. Johnson opted out of the main franchise sequel, F9, and focused on the spin-off Hobbs and Shaw in 2019, which further signaled a split in their shared franchise path. In December 2021, Johnson publicly stated he would not be returning to the main Fast and Furious season, citing Diesel's public plea for his return as manipulation because it referenced Diesel's children and the late Paul Walker. On June 1, 2023, Johnson announced via social media that he and Diesel put all the past behind them and are leading with brotherhood and always take care of the franchise. He also confirmed his return in a cameo/post-credits appearance as Hobbs in Fast X, indicating that the feud had been formally set aside for the franchise's future. By early 2025, Diesel publicly posted all love always, referencing Johnson and their relationship, which appears to be restored. Bill Murray drove Lucy Liu to her breaking point. Lucy Liu was cast in Charlie's Angels, 2000, alongside Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore. Bill Murray joined the project in a supporting role, bringing his signature improvisational and unpredictable style to the set. Early interactions were reportedly professional, but some of Murray's improvisation began creating tension. According to Liu, Murray began directing insults towards her, some of which she described as inexcusable and unacceptable. She noted that the behavior was unexpected and directed specifically at her during filming. A production assistant reported that Murray had occasionally rewritten scenes without informing the cast or crew, which caused confusion and frustration. This behind-the-scenes behavior likely contributed to escalating tensions and made collaboration more difficult. Lewis emphasized that she did not tolerate the insults and confronted Murray professionally. This response demonstrates her resilience and refusal to accept inappropriate behavior on set. Many headlines exaggerated the incident, claiming Murray drove Liu to her breaking point. In reality, Liu didn't use that language and later clarified that she holds no personal animosity towards Murray. The incident is better understood as a professional conflict rather than a personal vendetta. The clash has since become an example of the challenges actors face when navigating high-pressure sets with unpredictable co-stars. It illustrates the importance of standing up for oneself in professional settings while maintaining professionalism. Ryan Gosling walked off because of Rachel McAdams. Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams were cast as the leads in the film The Notebook, released in 2004. Early in production, the director, Nick Cassavetes, revealed that Gosling and McAdams were not getting along well during one major scene, which threatened the chemistry. Cassavetes recalled a day when Gosling approached him amid a large scene with 150 people standing and said, "Would you take her out of here and bring in another actress to read off camera with me? I can't. I'm just not getting anything from this." The statement is sometimes reported as walked off, but in the director's account, Gosling did not literally walk off set, and he asked for a change of actress rather than continuing the scene with McAdams. To address the issue, Cassavetes and a producer brought the two actors into a room to confront the tension. He recalled, "We went into a room with a producer. They started screaming and yelling at each other. The director stepped away to smoke a cigarette while they resolved things, and afterwards he said, and everybody came out like, 'All right, let's do this.' The rest of the film wasn't smooth sailing, but it was smoother sailing. Following that confrontation, the on-set relationship improved enough to complete the film." Cassavetes remarked that Gosling came to respect McAdams for standing up for her character. Although the on-set tension was real, after the film they went on to date between 2005 and 2007, so the conflict wasn't enduring hostility. Leonardo DiCaprio swore he'd never work with Claire Danes again. Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, which began filming in 1995 and was released in 1996, had the leading roles of Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. The film was directed by Baz Luhrmann. DiCaprio was just beginning to make a name for himself as a teen heartthrob at the time, while Danes was beginning to garner a reputation for her serious work. According to interviews, Danes thought that Leonardo DiCaprio's behavior on set was prankish and occasionally juvenile, whereas DiCaprio thought that Danes exuded an excessive amount of seriousness and intensity. Despite the fact that both actors were able to properly finish their roles, the mismatch in personalities that occurred during filming generated a professional strain. According to reports, Danes turned down the opportunity to work alongside Leonardo DiCaprio in the 1997 film Titanic. Rather than harboring any ill will toward Leonardo DiCaprio, she's emphasized in interviews that this decision was a personal one, emphasizing her own availability and the circumstances surrounding her life. According to some articles, Leonardo DiCaprio swore he'd never work with her again. This is an overblown version of the situation. There's not a single credible source or interview that's been confirmed that contains DiCaprio making such a comment. It's highly likely that the claim originates from the combination of tension that existed on set and the fact that they never worked together again. tensions exploded between Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy. Theron as Furiosa and Hardy as Max Rokitansky were cast in Mad Max Fury Road, filming in extremely challenging conditions, remote desert locations, long hours. Early on, the underlying dynamic began mounting, and Theron was described as disciplined, punctual, and ready to work. Hardy, in contrast, preferred deep method preparation and was sometimes late or less conventional in his approach. Crew members reported that from the pre-production phase, there was a sense of friction, like the first rehearsal fight scene between the two already showed visible strain. The remote, intense environment, desert, extreme conditions, heightened stress. Theron said the shoot was survival mode and that fear and exhaustion played a role. A concrete flashpoint occurred when Hardy arrived 3 hours late for an 8 a.m. call time, while Theron and the crew waited in full costume. Theron reportedly jumped out of the war rig vehicle set piece and yelled at Hardy, "Fine, $100,000 for every minute that he's held up this crew. How disrespectful are you?" Hardy then charged toward her and challenged, "What did you say to me?" leaving Theron feeling threatened. This moment was described as the turning point. After the incident, Theron said she didn't feel safe and requested a female producer to be assigned to accompany her on set. Director George Miller and production accommodated this. Miller later reflected that both actors were under intense pressure and the situation got out of hand. By the end of the shoot, Theron and Hardy managed to continue working together. Theron admitted, "We shouldn't have done that. We should have been better. I can own up to that." Julia Roberts made life miserable for Nick Nolte. Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte were cast as rival newspaper reporters who fall in love in the romantic comedy I Love Trouble, released in 1994. The pair looked ideal on paper, as both were major stars with strong on-screen charisma. But early reports suggested their off-screen chemistry was rocky from the beginning. According to interviews and industry reports, Roberts and Nolte quickly began clashing during filming. Roberts later said in an interview that they gave each other a hard time and naturally got on each other's nerves. Their working styles were dramatically different. Roberts preferred structure and professionalism. Nolte was known for his unpredictable, improvisational energy. This contrast led to frustration on both sides. During press interviews after the film's release, Roberts described Nolte as completely charming but also completely disgusting, saying he sometimes seemed to go out of his way to repel people. These comments made headlines and confirmed rumors of on-set animosity. Nolte later responded, calling their relationship absurd, but admitted that the friction was partly my fault and a little bit of hers. Multiple production sources claim that the tension became so difficult to manage that Roberts and Nolte sometimes refused to film scenes together. Stand-ins were allegedly used for some shots, allowing each actor to film separately to minimize direct interaction. Despite the tension, the film was completed on schedule, although critics later noted that the on-screen chemistry felt forced compared to what the script intended. The real reason Bruce Willis and Kevin Smith can't stand each other. Kevin Smith acted in one of Bruce Willis's films, Live Free or Die Hard, in 2007, where Willis was the lead and Smith had a supporting role. This working experience appeared amicable, and Smith said he was a fan of Willis. Smith later took on directing the Willis-led buddy comedy Cop Out in 2010, the first time Smith directed a film he did not also write. On the set of Cop Out, Smith reported that Willis was uncooperative and refused to do multiple takes, declining to participate in promotional shoots and generally not engaging with the director's process. Smith described the experience as soul-crushing, stating, "I had no help from this dude whatsoever." One specific reported incident says Willis allegedly asked Smith what lens the crew was using, and when Smith didn't know, Willis became furious. The director recounts scenes of the actor yelling on set, "Do you want to take a swing at me?" Following the release of Cop Out, Smith publicly branded Willis as undirectable and the most intimidating actor I've ever worked with. Willis responded more quietly, telling Time Out, "Poor Kevin, he's just a whiner, you know? We had some personal issues about how we approach work. Sometimes you don't get along." At the film's wrap-up party, sources say Smith toasted everyone who worked on the film except for Bruce Willis, who's an idiot. This type of public jab further cemented the rift. One key underlying factor: Willis had decades of experience as a major star and felt protective of his Bruce Willis persona. Smith, by contrast, was a fan-turned-director who admitted he was somewhat starstruck. Sharon Stone's feud that almost ended her career. Sharon Stone rose to global prominence with the release of Basic Instinct in 1992, which made her a major movie star and symbol. With that star power, she appeared in high-profile films such as Casino in 1995 and was nominated for an Oscar, consolidating her status. In 1995, Stone became involved with AMFAR, the HIV and AIDS Research Organization, stepping in for Elizabeth Taylor at their annual fundraising event at Cannes. She recounted that her publicist warned her, "If you do this, it will destroy your career." Stone later said that her outspoken advocacy brought hate, threats, and career backlash. Stone has stated that due to her activism and the stigma surrounding HIV and AIDS at the time, she didn't work for 8 years. She also felt her career was derailed in part due to the leg-crossing scene in Basic Instinct, which she says was weaponized against her in custody and career battles. After her near-fatal stroke in 2001, she said Hollywood ignored her for about 20 years, claiming she lost her place in the business. Stone revealed in a 2025 interview that an explosive first meeting with her Basic Instinct co-star, Michael Douglas, at the Cannes Film Festival around 1990 almost cost her the role of Catherine Trammell because of a heated exchange between them. She described how Douglas initially refused to test with her, possibly due to their clash. Eventually, the director kept replaying her audition tape until Douglas relented. George Clooney and David O. Russell's legendary on-set fight. George Clooney was cast in Three Kings, a war heist film set during the 1991 Gulf War. David O. Russell is known for independent comedies, took on this large-scale studio production, which meant he brought his more improvisational and intense directing style into an environment with larger crews and bigger budgets. Clooney reportedly admired the script, calling it as good a script as I've ever read, but was entering new territory in terms of director style and large-scale shoot dynamics. During the desert shoot with large crews, explosions, helicopters, and extras, Russell's working style reportedly became a source of stress. He was said to publicly yell at crew and extras, push physical boundaries, and create a high-pressure environment. Clooney became concerned, especially when he perceived Russell as humiliating or physically pushing an extra who was nervous about a stunt. Clooney viewed such actions as crossing a line of respectful treatment on set. According to Clooney's account, the major flashpoint occurred when Russell allegedly pulled an extra to the ground and kicked or shoved him while yelling. Clooney intervened, saying, "I told you, if you're going to pick on somebody, pick on me." Confrontation escalated. Russell reportedly challenged Clooney verbally, "Why don't you remember your lines for once?" And the two men physically grabbed each other, including Clooney saying he had Russell by the throat. One crew member, producer Charles Roven, recalled pulling Clooney away as the fight started, describing the chaos of the production atmosphere. The film shoot continued, but the relationship between the actor and the director was severely damaged. Clooney later described the experience as, without exception, the worst experience of my life. Richard Gere and Sylvester Stallone's feud that still burns. The renowned actors Sylvester Stallone and Henry Winkler were part of the cast for the film The Lords of Flatbush in 1974. It was a low-budget film about a Brooklyn street gang produced in 1973, which marked one of the early significant roles for both actors. Sylvester Stallone played Stanley, and Richard Gere was cast early in production to play Chico, which was one of the lead roles. Meanwhile, multiple reports confirmed that tensions arose between Gere and Stallone during early filming. Stallone has publicly described Gere as being too rough during rehearsals and said that their working relationship quickly deteriorated. Gere was fired from the film after only a few weeks of shooting. He was replaced by actor Perry King, who went on to play Chico. This is documented in the production histories and confirmed by Gere's later removal from the project, reported by the Vintage News. After The Lords of Flatbush, both actors began to rise separately in Hollywood. In later interviews, Stallone stated plainly, "To this day, Gere seriously dislikes me." In later press appearances, Stallone recounted their clash while promoting his films in the 1980s and early 1990s. He consistently repeated the same core facts, like they didn't get along on set, and later Gere was removed from the film. There was no reconciliation afterwards. Gere, for his part, has never publicly refuted or expanded upon the story, but has also never commented in a way that suggests reconciliation. In 2006, Stallone revisited the story in an interview, and he recalled the filming tension and Gere's departure. He said that Gere thinks I started a bad rumor about him, but Stallone denied doing so. Importantly, this 2006 interview reaffirmed that their dislike was real and personal, not a media invention. The day Terry Hatcher walked off set on her co-star. Terry Hatcher began gaining wide recognition in the early 1990s for her roles in television, particularly guest appearances on Seinfeld as the one with the good ones, and later as the lead in Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Hatcher was cast opposite Dean Cain as Lois Lane in 1993, and the show ran for 4 seasons on ABC until 1997. Hatcher and Cain had strong on-screen chemistry, and the show's success relied heavily on their dynamic. Dean Cain has said in later interviews that although they got along professionally, filming was demanding. We had great chemistry, but sometimes I just wanted to finish and go home. In 2004, Hatcher joined ABC's Desperate Housewives, playing Susan Meyer, one of the lead roles. The series became a global hit and won numerous awards. A 2005 Vanity Fair cover shoot featuring the Desperate Housewives cast became the most publicized sign of friction. Reports from Vanity Fair insiders claimed that other cast members felt Hatcher dominated the photo setup. Some actresses reportedly threatened to walk off the shoot, not Hatcher herself. The magazine later confirmed that tensions existed, but the shoot was completed. Hatcher remained with the show through its final season. When production ended, some outlets reported that her name was missing from a farewell card signed by crew members, implying she had grown isolated. After Desperate Housewives, Hatcher continued to work steadily in television and voice acting. Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J's on-set fight got way too real. Any Given Sunday, directed by Oliver Stone, was released in 1999. Jamie Foxx was cast as quarterback Willie Beeman, while LL Cool J was cast as running back Julian J-Man Washington. The film involves a fictional professional American football team with internal conflicts among players and staff. Several sources report that tension began when LL Cool J took his role very seriously and seemingly began pushing the physicality of scenes beyond the scripted demands. Other cast recollections say that Jamie Foxx's trash-talking or joking around irritated LL Cool J, who apparently didn't respond in kind. Bill Bellamy, a co-star, later said he warned Foxx, "I'm telling you, that's my dude, he doesn't play like that." During a take involving both actors in a confrontational scene, LL Cool J struck Jamie Foxx in a way that Foxx contends was not scripted. Foxx: "If you want to do this, we can do this." According to cinematographer Sal Totino, the strike occurred during a take. LL hits Jamie. What does Jamie do? Hits him back. Al Pacino's in the middle of the scene acting and doesn't know that a real fight's going on over his head. The fight reportedly escalated. Jamie's head was thrown into a camera cane in one account, and LL was alleged to have knocked Jamie out temporarily. Bill Bellamy said that the fight paused production for several days while tensions were addressed. However, the film continued and was completed. The behind-the-scenes incident became one of Hollywood's noted on-set feuds. Eventually, Jamie Foxx and LL Cool J publicly indicated that they had moved past the conflict, while the incident remained cited in lists of major on-set physical altercations. The fight crossed from scripted antagonism into genuine physical combat, an act that turned into reality. Robert Duvall truly hated him more than anyone. Robert played Tom Hagen, the consigliere, while Brando was Don Vito Corleone. Despite the brilliance of the collaboration, Robert reportedly had personal and professional friction with Brando, who was known for being unpredictable and difficult on set. Brando's improvisational style and tendency to rewrite lines frustrated many co-stars, including Duvall. Robert, a meticulous and disciplined actor, reportedly disliked Brando's lack of preparation and disregard for co-star input. According to interviews, Robert often felt undermined by Brando's dominance and eccentric behavior on set. Robert once commented that Brando would walk off the set or ignore direction for scenes, leaving Robert and others to improvise. There are accounts from crew members noting that Robert expressed intense dislike for Brando privately, describing him as self-centered and manipulative. However, this hatred seems contextual, as it was professional frustration rather than a personal vendetta. In later interviews, Robert softened his language about Brando, acknowledging Brando's genius and influence on acting. He admitted that while he was frustrated at the time, the experience ultimately shaped him as an actor and taught him how to navigate difficult colleagues. When Bill Murray and Chevy Chase nearly came to blows. Chevy Chase was a breakout star in the inaugural season, 1975, of Saturday Night Live. Bill Murray joined the SNL cast after Chase left. Chase departed in Season 2. Murray was part of the cast from 1977 onwards. According to accounts, some cast members and writers resented Chase's early success and departure, which set the stage for tension when he returned as a guest host. The atmosphere backstage was reportedly hostile, and cast members felt Chase had left them behind and was behaving arrogantly upon his return. Bill Murray, feeling he had to defend the cast's sense of cohesion, confronted Chase. Murray later described the incident as a Hollywood fight, a don't-touch-my-face kind of thing. Accounts say that the fight occurred backstage in John Belushi's dressing room/hallway just moments before Chase's guest hosting monologue. The verbal exchange escalated into shoves, like when Murray allegedly taunted Chase with medium talent during the altercation. Chase reportedly mocked Murray's appearance, "your pockmarked face," and Murray retaliated with personal insults about Chase's marriage. While physical blows landed, neither Murray nor Chase admitted to delivering a knockout punch, while John Belushi and other cast members intervened to separate them. Despite the backstage melee, the show went on that night. Chase delivered his monologue, and the episode aired. The incident became part of SNL lore and was referenced in multiple retrospectives and behind-the-scenes books. Though tensions were high, Chase and Murray later worked together in the film Caddyshack in 1980. Their professional rapport improved, and they reportedly made peace. Kiefer Sutherland couldn't work with Freddie Prinze Jr. Freddie Prinze Jr. joined the cast of 24 in 2014, playing the character Cole Ortiz. Kiefer Sutherland starred on the show as Jack Bauer, a major character. In July 2014, at Comic-Con and in interviews, Freddie Prinze Jr. stated that his experience working with Kiefer Sutherland on 24 was extremely negative. "I did 24. It was terrible. I hated every moment of it." He further described Sutherland as, "Kiefer was the most unprofessional dude in the world. That's not me talking trash. I'd say it to his face. I think everyone who's working with him has said that." He also cited an example of frustration, being made to remove his shoes for scenes due to the height difference between them, saying, "I went and worked for Vince McMahon at the WWE, but at least he was cool and tall. I didn't have to take my shoes off to do scenes with him, which they made me do on 24. Just put the guy on apple boxes, or don't hire me next time. You know, I'm 6 feet and he's 5'4". He added that the experience was such that he just wanted to quit the business after that. "So I just sort of stopped." Kiefer Sutherland, through his representative, responded that he enjoyed working with Freddie Prinze Jr. and he had not previously heard about the grievances. The public comments by Freddie Prinze Jr. emphasize a very negative experience on the set of 24, specifically attributing it to the working relationship with Kiefer Sutherland. The long battle between Alec Baldwin and Harrison Ford. Alec Baldwin starred as CIA analyst Jack Ryan in the 1990s The Hunt for Red October. This role positioned him as the face of the Jack Ryan franchise, adapted from the novels of Tom Clancy. According to Baldwin's own account, he believed he was in talks to continue in the role for the sequel. Baldwin claims that during negotiations for the sequel, Patriot Games, in 1992, the studio, Paramount Pictures, began negotiating with Harrison Ford behind Baldwin's back. Baldwin writes that director John McTiernan told Ford that Baldwin was still on the table. Ford accepted the role of Jack Ryan in Patriot Games, and subsequently reprised it in Clear and Present Danger in 1994. Baldwin sees this as a professional wound and an act of betrayal by the studio and, in his view, by Ford. In his 2017 memoir, Nevertheless, Baldwin revisits the incident and expresses his resentment. He described Ford as a little man, short, scrawny, and wiry, whose soft voice sounds as if it's coming from behind a door. Baldwin also said the studio's replacement of him was cutting my throat and blamed an executive, David Kirkpatrick, and the studio's debt issues for his removal. Ford has not, in credible public records, engaged deeply with these accusations, while the narrative remains largely one-sided in Baldwin's telling. As of late 2025, reports indicate Baldwin and Ford can't stand each other, largely anchored to this Jack Ryan dispute. Baldwin continues to mention it in interviews and his memoir, but Ford has remained publicly silent about the deeper personal feelings. When Val Kilmer drove his co-stars crazy. One of Hollywood's best-known actors, Val Kilmer, went to train at the Juilliard School and later embraced a serious method-style approach to acting. The style sometimes clashed with conventional film set expectations. During the filming of Top Gun in 1986, Kilmer admitted that he had played up off-camera to his rivalry with co-star Tom Cruise's character, saying in his memoir he purposely played up the rivalry off-screen as well. This behavior showed early seeds of friction. Well, not a full blow-up. It showed Kilmer's willingness to disrupt the off-screen relations in the name of performance. By the mid-1990s, Kilmer developed a reputation among cast and crew for being difficult and refusing to rehearse, isolating himself and engaging in confrontations. As one production claimed, there was a physical pushing match between Kilmer and the first assistant director on Batman Forever, 1995, when he was filming under director Joel Schumacher. On the ill-fated production of The Island of Dr. Moreau, 1996 to 97, co-star David Thewlis described working with Kilmer as the most bizarre 5 months of my entire life. Out in the Australian rainforest, it was so spectacularly bleak and awful, it was almost wonderful. These incidents illustrate that Kilmer's intensity and sometimes volatility translated into real disruptions on set, affecting the production atmosphere and relationships. On the set of Red Planet, 2000, Kilmer and co-star Tom Sizemore reportedly had a violent confrontation. According to Sizemore's memoir, when Sizemore objected to Kilmer's complaints about salary disparity, Kilmer shouted, "I'm making $10 million on this. You're only making $2 million." Sizemore then threw a 50-pound weight at Kilmer, though he missed. When the producers were asked why the incident occurred, they said someone hit Kilmer in the face. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon